What is up, my TickleMe crew? This is Chad here, and today I'm bringing you guys my very first Pokemon Top 10 video. So today's video is going to be my top 10 favorite Pokemon to use competitively. Keep in mind, guys, that this list is completely my own opinion. So if you guys have anything to say about my list, or if you guys feel like sharing your top 10 competitive Pokemon, feel free to do that in the comment section below. Also, guys, if you like these top 10 videos, feel free to also give me some ideas for other top 10 videos you would like me to cover in the future. Kicking off this list, coming in at number 10 is Scrafty. Scrafty was my favorite Pokemon back in 5th gen. I made many teams around this guy. I just love everything about Scrafty, from its appearance, to its stats, to its movesets. Everything about Scrafty just screams awesome sauce to me. The only reason that Scrafty is so low on my list is because of his disappointing typing. After 6th gen was announced, they introduced a brand new type, the Fairy type, and because Scrafty is a fighting dark type, he is now 4 times weak to fairies, which makes him really hard to use effectively in battle. Don't let that stop you from using Scrafty though. Scrafty is still a really good Pokemon with good HP, amazing 115 defense and special defense, coupled with 2 amazing abilities in Moxie and Shed Skin, make him a great candidate for moves such as Bulk Up and Dragon Dance. If your opponent lets you set up with Scrafty, it's a wrap. Scrafty has been known to destroy teams. Coming in at number 9 is Girder. And Girder plays a lot like the bulky Scrafty set in that they are both fighting types and they both utilize the move Bulk Up to raise their stats. Both of these Pokemon utilize the moves Drain Punch and Knock Off, but Girder has some things that Scrafty does not, that sets it apart. For starters, Girder gets the item Eviolite, and what Eviolite does is it gives any non-fully evolved Pokemon a 50% boost to their defense and special defense. This is huge because Eviolite makes Girder really defensive. Girder also gets an amazing ability in Guts, so your opponent has to think twice before they want to Toxic you or burn you. What Guts does is it increases your attack if you are inflicted with a status ailment such as burn, paralyze, or poison. However, it is not all blowjobs and rainbows. Being a fighting type makes Girder weak to a lot of common attacking types, such as Psychic, Fairy, and Flying, but unlike Scrafty, Girder does not have any 4 times weaknesses. Coming in at number 8 is Togetic. Now, Togetic is kind of a newer Pokemon for me. I've used it a couple times. I never expected Togetic to be as good as it is, but it's one of those Pokemon, it's really luck-based. It's got a move called Ancient Power on its moveset, and what Ancient Power does is it's a really weak Rock-type special type attack. I think it has like 60 base power, but what's cool about it is it has like a 10% chance to boost all of your stats. Now, 10% chance seems pretty low, right? Togetic actually has an amazing ability called Serene Grace, and what Serene Grace does is it actually doubles the chance for secondary effects to occur. So that 10% chance to increase all of your stats now becomes a 20% chance. And it's still pretty low, but when it works fantastically. But when it doesn't work, Togetic can fall flat on its face. So it is really luck-based, and it's kind of trolly, but that's what I love about this Togetic set that I'm showing you guys. When it works, it's fantastic. When it doesn't, just don't expect it to work every single time. This Togetic set also has some really annoying toys for your opponent. It does have Toxic, so you can poison all of your opponent's Pokemon unless they have a Steel type, because poison type moves don't work on Steel types anyway. But you can rack up poison damage on your opponent's Pokemon while you're trying to set up with Ancient Power. And Toxic actually does more damage every single turn than the turn before. So every single turn you're going to get, I think it's multiplicative damage every single time. So like one turn it might do 10 damage. The next turn it might do 15, then 20, and so on and so on. Coming in at number 7 is Sharpedo. Sharpedo is an awesome friggin' Pokemon. I had no idea that Sharpedo got Destiny Bond until a couple months ago when my friend told me. And when she told me that it got Destiny Bond, I made one instantly. Sharpedo with Destiny Bond, it already gets an amazing ability in Speed Boost. And Speed Boost increases your speed every single turn. So couple that with Destiny Bond, it's almost as good as Prankster Destiny Bond from Mega Banette. That is incredible, guys. What Destiny Bond does is, if you use Destiny Bond and your opponent knocks you out on that same turn, they will go down with you. That is incredible. That's amazing for getting rid of like big threats on your opponent's side of the field. Destiny Bond is a move that I'm not even sure a lot of people know that Sharpedo get, so it's great for the surprise factor. Just a tip, if you guys are going to use Destiny Bond Sharpedo, it's probably better if you don't use Mega Sharpedo, because the idea here is to outspeed your opponent, use Destiny Bond, and let them hit you and take both of you out at the same time. When you Mega Evolve with Sharpedo, it gets Strong Jaw, I think, as its ability, so you definitely want to keep Speed Boost. But if you are dead set on using Mega Sharpedo as your Destiny Bonder, then be sure to pack Protect on your Sharpedo. That way you can Protect on the first turn that you bring it out and get that first Speed Boost, and then Mega Evolve, then do whatever. It's also a good idea for the item to be a Focus Sash. That way you can get your Speed Boosts in case your opponent has like any Pokemon that are set up on you. Stuff like that. I think Focus Sash Sharpedo is definitely your best bet to use Destiny Bond effectively. Can we all just take a moment to admire how fucking awesome Mega Gallade looks? Holy shit. This thing looks like Seto Kaiba with a fucking dual disc on his arm. But anyway, Mega Gallade made my list because this thing is... It is incredible. This Pokemon is amazing. Gallade was already good, and then they give it a Mega. That is insane. Mega Gallade's stats, I believe its speed actually jumped up to 110, which is amazing because now he's going to outspeed so many different Pokemon in the metagame. It's unreal. And then his attack, I believe, is like 165 base. That is huge. Holy shit. Like, what else is there to even say about Mega Gallade? But to be honest, its ability is kind of meh. I believe its ability is Inner Focus, which prevents you from getting flinched. But, I mean, how often are you really getting flinched? So I feel like they could have done better in the ability department, but other than that, oh my god. Mega Gallade is a freaking monster. Its attack stat is off the charts, its speed is amazing. Gallade itself gets... Its move pool is amazing. It has so many different coverage options. I mean, hell, even its defense is base 95 and its special defense is base 115. That's the same special defense stat as Scrafty. That means Mega Gallade can actually take some hits. I mean, if you're not using Mega Gallade, you just shouldn't even play Pokemon. Alright guys, so we finally hit my top 5, and this one is one that I'm sure we all knew was going to be on the list. I'm sure you guys know that at some point in this list, there was going to be a Quagsire. Coming in at number 5, we have the channel mascot himself, Quagsire. So this adorable blue blob of a Pokemon has probably what is the best ability in the game in Unaware. And what Unaware does is it actually negates all of your opponent's stat changes. So if your opponent has started setting up on you, say they started setting up Swords Dances or whatever, raising their attack, or something raising their defense, special defense, or speed, or special attack, anything, all of your opponent's stat changes, they're negated, they are gone. So your opponent basically can't even set up on you at all. And what's cool about this is Quagsire in turn can start setting up on your opponent using Stockpile to raise its defense and special defense, which is obviously going to make Quagsire a lot more hard for your opponent to kill. Quagsire also has an amazing typing, being Water Ground. This makes it so he only has one weakness in the entire game, and that's Grass. The only two downsides to Quagsire is that his weakness, Grass, is pretty common, so definitely watch out for Grass type attacks. And his other flaw is that his moveset, or his move pool, is not very broad, so he doesn't really have that much coverage. But Quagsire's standard set is basically all you'll ever need. Quagsire gets an awesome stab move called Scald, and what Scald does is it actually has a 30% chance to burn your opponent, which is going to cut their attack in half. So obviously that, coupled with Quagsire's amazing defense, is going to make sure that your Quagsire sticks around for a while. As mentioned before, Quagsire also gets Stockpile, which increases his defense and special defense, and it gets a recovery move in Recover, so you can recover back your HP. Another option you could consider is get rid of Stockpile for Toxic, that way you could poison stall your opponents to death. But just know that if you do get rid of Stockpile, you will lose the ability to increase your defense and special defense. Coming in at number 4 is Lileep. Now, Lileep is kind of an odd little dickhead monster thing. It's definitely a Pokemon that I would say you probably would never see in a competitive setting, unless you're battling me, of course. It's an amazing Pokemon, and it's just never seen because I think if anything, people would just use its evolution form Cradily. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just Lileep, in my opinion, works better than Cradily. Because what Cradily doesn't get that Lileep does is the Eviolite. And as I explained before, Eviolite increases the defense and special defense of non-fully evolved Pokemon by 50%. So Eviolite is basically the glue that holds Lileep together here. Yes, I know, it's another Eviolite Pokemon. As you guys can probably tell, I love Eviolite. It's one of my favorite items in the game. I love using non-fully evolved Pokemon and, trying to make the best out of it. So yes, this is another Eviolite Pokemon. Now, Eviolite is a gift and a curse because, yeah, your defenses are going to be really high, but you're also not going to get the leftovers that you would get if you were using something like Cradily. But that's okay because the defenses on this Lileep are insane. Both physical defense and special defense are really high with Eviolite. This set acts a lot like the Togetic set that I showed earlier in this video. The only thing is, Lileep does not have Serene Grace, so the stat boost from Ancient Power is only a 10% chance, so, it's not something that you want to bank on happening often, but when it does, it's incredible. And I have a battle on my YouTube channel of me actually using this Lileep, and it actually won me the game. It's unreal. I'll leave that battle in the description below if anybody wants to see it. It's hilarious. But other than that, this Lileep also packs Toxic, so you can wear away at your opponent's HP. It does get Recover, and it also gets Giga Drain, so it has 2 forms of recovery, so that's going to make sure that your Lileep stays alive for a long time. I completely forgot to mention that Lileep has an awesome ability in Storm Drain, which acts as a 3rd form of recovery, and basically what Storm Drain does is every time you get hit by a water attack, it heals you by 25%. So the key here is to bring Lileep in on a predicted water type attack, and you can absorb it and heal yourself. Number 3 is another Pokemon that I'm sure a lot of you guys knew were going to be on this list. So coming in at number 3 is Clefairy. I fucking love my Clefairy. This thing, yet again, is another Eviolite Pokemon. I know, guys, I abuse the hell out of Eviolite, but let me tell you about our Lord and Savior, Tiny Wings. You might think that this little cute fairy fucker would be all cute, innocent, and cuddly, but no, Tiny Wings spares no one. You might think that you're big and bad just because you're taller than Tiny Wings, but no, Tiny Wings will grab a chair. She will stand on said chair, and she will reach out and slap the shit out your mama. All shitty jokes aside, Clefairy has an amazing ability in Magic Guard. And what Magic Guard does is it actually negates any passive damage. So for instance, if your opponent sets up entry hazards like spikes or stealth rocks, you're not going to take any damage from those. But what it also does is it negates damage from like Life Orb or Burn or Toxic, which is incredible. So if your opponent Toxics you thinking that they're gonna get passive damage on you every turn, well, they got another thing coming, because Clefairy ain't having that shit. Another tool that Clefairy has in its bag of tricks is Cosmic Power, and what Cosmic Power does is it acts a lot like Quagsire's Stockpile, except it doesn't have that 3 stockpile limit. So instead of only being able to set up to +3, you can actually set up to +6 defense and special defense. Once you reach +6 special defense and defense, your opponent might as well just forfeit, because honestly, there's no way they're breaking through this Clefairy unless they get a crit on you. Clefairy also gets Toxic, so it can wear away at your opponent's HP every single turn while you set up, and it also gets a nice move called Seismic Toss. And what Seismic Toss does is it does damage equal to your level. So if you're level 50, which you are in all Wi-Fi battles, it's always going to do 50 damage flat. And finally, for Clefairy's last move, it gets Soft Boiled, which is basically just its recovery move, which heals like 50% of its health, so that's awesome. This makes it so your opponent's going to have a really hard time getting through this Clefairy. Coming in at number 2 is one of my personal favorites as of late, Counter Gengar. What Counter Gengar does is it acts as an anti-lead. It's probably one of the best anti-lead Pokemon in the game. So the idea here is to lead off with Gengar once the battle starts, and use Counter if your opponent is a physical attacker. And what Counter does is if your opponent hits you with a physical attack, you're going to deal twice the damage that they did to you back to them. So basically, if your opponent hits you, and it does over half to your Gengar, that is a 100% guarantee that you are going to kill them once you hit them with the counter. Counter Gengar also packs Taunt for people that like to lead off with Galvantula and try to set up sticky webs. So what Taunt does is it makes it so your opponent cannot use any non-attacking moves. They have to attack you. So that makes it so your opponent can't use moves like Stealth Rock, Spikes, or Sticky Webs, or any non-attacking move. Counter Gengar also packs Destiny Bond, much like Sharpedo earlier in this video. So the idea there is just to outspeed your opponent and use Destiny Bond and let them hit you, and if they take you out, then you take them out. Best case scenario here is your opponent leads off with a physical attacker while you lead off with your Gengar. You hit them with a counter and KO them, and then when they bring in their next Pokemon, you use Destiny Bond, and then as they KO you, you KO them. So effectively, Gengar took out 2 of your opponent's Pokemon for the price of 1. As far as the item for Gengar, generally Gengar almost always carry Focus Sash, and that is definitely the item of choice for a Counter Gengar. Now obviously things don't always go your way. For instance, if your opponent should lead off with like a special attacker or a Pokemon that is faster than your Gengar. So that's not always going to be the case because Gengar is really fast on its own, but should your opponent actually lead with something that's faster than your Gengar, Gengar gets a move called Icy Wind from the move tutors in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And what Icy Wind does is it actually lowers your opponent's speed by 1 stage after you hit them with it. So the idea here is, if your opponent leads off with a special attacker that's faster than you, what you do is you just go for Icy Wind, let them hit you first, then you're going to lower their speed. And then on the following turn you should outspeed with a Destiny Bond, let them kill you, and Destiny Bond will kill them too. Alright guys, so before I tell you guys my number 1 favorite Pokemon to use competitively, here are a couple honorable mentions. And finally guys, my number 1 top favorite Pokemon to use competitively is Go-Goat. Yes, Go-Goat. Just because he's a fucking goat. Not only is Go-Goat a goat, but he also has pretty decent stats. He's got good speed, great special defense, great HP. His defense is, it's kind of a little less than to be desired, but with Go-Goat's moveset, that can be patched up. For starters, Go-Goat has a decent ability in Sap Sipper, and what Sap Sipper does is if you're hit by a grass attack, it actually increases your attack. So, the idea behind Go-Goat is to use it on a team that has a severe grass weakness to basically bait out the grass type attack. That way you can switch in Go-Goat on the predicted grass type attack and get an attack boost. I personally run a little bit more of a bulky variant to my Go-Goat. I believe I run max HP, max special defense, and I believe I put the last 6 EVs in defense. So the moveset that you're going to want to run on your Go-Goat is Earthquake, just as a really strong attack move. Milk Drink, and what Milk Drink does is it's basically another recovery move. Horn Leech is another recovery move, but this time it actually does damage to your opponent. Basically, it's Go-Goat's form of Drain Punch, except it's a grass type attack this time. And then finally, Bulk Up. And as we said before, Bulk Up raises your attack and defense by 1 stage. The nature that I gave my Go-Goat is a Careful nature, which maximizes its special defense while subtracting from special attack. But again, in this case, Go-Goat is not a special attacker, it's a physical attacker, so we don't really need the special attack at all. Overall, Go-Goat is a wonderful Pokemon for any team that needs any grass weaknesses patched up. It has great stats. I mean, its HP is monstrous at 123 base. Attack is decent at 100. Its defense is, I would say its defense is average, or maybe even a little bit below average. Special attack, which again we're not really using, is 97, so I mean, if you can figure out a way to use a special attack in Go-Goat, go for it, I guess. But it's not really recommended. Special defense is 81, that's pretty decent, and speed is actually 68. So its speed is kind of average, I guess, for the tier that it's in. I mean, it's in NU, but I've used Go-Goat in higher tiers. I've used my Go-Goat in OU, and it's done work before, so, you know, any Pokemon in this list, guys, don't be afraid to use them in any tier. Even if they're like in NU or PU, don't be afraid to try them out in OU. You never know. These Pokemon are incredible, guys. Just, you gotta give them a shot. And that is all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will actually try out some of these Pokemon, and let me know what you guys think. I love these Pokemon. They're so fun to use, and I love to especially use them in higher tiers. A lot of these Pokemon, they have the surprise factor because nobody sees like NU Pokemon in OU ever. So you can definitely catch your opponents off guard, and that's just what I love about using low tier Pokemon. They're so fun, and just because something's low tier doesn't mean they're good. I mean, doesn't mean they're bad. So these Pokemon are amazing. Really, they are, and they just need a chance. And I hope that this will inspire some of you guys to try out some of these sets, and let me know any successes that you've had with these Pokemon. And again, if you guys agree with any of the Pokemon on my list, or if you want to tell me your top 10 favorite Pokemon competitively, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to see what you guys think, to see what Pokemon you guys like to use and stuff. And hell, maybe I'll even try out some of you guys' suggestions. You know, that's what Pokemon's all about, in my opinion, like the community aspect. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. My links are in the description below as always. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Toodles.